Right. All right, here we're going to be talking about following GEMDAS and order of operations with absolute value and the other special grouping symbol, which here is the square root symbol. Brackets, parentheses are also grouping symbols, but those are just multiplication. Absolute value and square roots have some other implied operation to them, and they're also multiplication. So if you see a number outside of an absolute value symbol, you also have to multiply. It acts like parentheses in that way, but it also does something else. So, again, I want to make sure I'm following order of operations. Right, so I want to follow GEMDAS still. So that means I have to do in the grouping symbol first. That's really important for absolute value. I have absolute value bars around this entire thing. I'm doing everything inside of there, and then I'm going to think about what the absolute value does to it. So I still have to follow order of operations inside of there. I have addition, I have subtraction, and I have multiplication, so I'm going to multiply first. I got -7 plus 1 minus 22. Now I can do my addition. I have addition and subtraction. I'm going to work that left to right. -7 plus 1 is a -6. Minus 22. Still have to finish inside of there. So that gives me the absolute value of -28. Absolute value really means how far is that number away from 0. If you imagine on a number line, -28 is 28 spaces away from 0. It's talking about the distance, so it changes that number into a positive. Just changes it into a positive 28. Everything inside of there, and then we change the number into a positive. Here we have the absolute value bars and a number outside of it. So again, I'm multiplying there. It's -2 times whatever I get from the absolute value part, and then plus an extra 10. Still have to do inside of there first. So 5 times -6. That gives me -2, absolute value of -30 plus 10. So I still have to change that into a positive. It's saying the absolute value of -30, which is really just 30. So I'm going to change that absolute value symbol into a set of parentheses to make it clear that I'm multiplying those two. So it's -2 times positive 30, that's -60, plus 10. -60 plus 10 is a -50. Square roots act the exact same way. I have to do everything inside of there first, and then I can do the square root of that number. Whatever I get inside of there, I'm going to take the square root of that. So I have to follow order of operations inside of there. I have subtraction, I have multiplication, and I have a grouping symbol with an exponent in the inside. That's what I have to start with. I have to do the exponent inside of there. I have to figure out what's inside of the parentheses first. So I have 5 minus the square root of 25 minus 4 times 4. 2 squared is really just 2 times 2, so that's 4. Now I can do the multiplication. That's going to give me -16, so I have 5 minus the square root of 25 minus 16. Still have to finish inside of there, so that's 5 minus the square root of 25 minus 16 is nothing. Now I can do the square root. The square root's basically asking what number times itself gives us 9. It's the opposite of squaring something. X squared and the square root of x, those are opposite operations. So the number times itself that gives us 9 is just 3. This gives me 5 minus 3. This just changed into a 3. I'm keeping that as subtraction. So it's 5 minus 3. That gives me a positive 2.